Hello, everyone. It feels like it was just yesterday. Oh wait, it was. I hope you're good. I don't know how these familiar names in chat have got the tolerance or the patience to rejoin me again 24 hours after we spent 10 hours over on Twitch doing a charity stream. Guys, thank you so much. Welcome in Ricky, Lauren, Sai, Gibbo. I saw Snuffle earlier. Did I miss anyone? So I've got to scroll. I haven't got my mod with me at the minute, so I'm flying solo tonight. Yeah, just how you guys are back after 10 hours of yesterday, but thank you so much. I welcome in Jarrett. I hope you're well. Guys, if you are new here, first of all, welcome. This is the Chronic Pain Club talk show where we chat for about an hour and a half on a Sunday night, every Sunday night, health permitting, to raise important questions, important conversations, to basically create a place for others to share their stories, to raise awareness, to make others feel less alone, and also to hopefully combat some stigmas. So I hope you're all good, guys. And yeah, we were over on Twitch all day yesterday for 10 hours from midday until 10 o'clock at night in the UK time. And yeah, I'm tired. I'm really tired. I've got some sort of lurgy thing as well. I've been in and out of bed all day, but the paracetamol is kicking in. I'm drinking water like a fish. And we will get through this. We're back again, guys. Really appreciate the energy I get from you guys. Keep turning up, genuinely. And it's really important because what you guys don't see is we do the live streams and then we get two versions of these videos. We get the entire live stream goes up after I click end, and then we get the interview only, and those go on to reach hundreds and in some cases thousands of people. Some of them are slow burners, some of them do really well really quickly, but the important thing is what we do here on a Sunday night might not seem that important, but it reaches people out there that need to hear this stuff and need to hear that they're not the only ones struggling with whatever it is they're going through. And it's why what used to be an arthritis show has sort of spread way beyond that. And we now cover everything. And tonight we're covering another disease for the first time, but one that I know has a lot of crossover for many in autoimmune and arthritis spaces, because we all know this stuff comes along like buses. So yeah, it's a really important one tonight, guys. So thank you for joining us. Welcome in all of the Gibbons. This is basically turning into the Gibbons show. We also will be doing the trilogy later on in the year when Lauren will be joining us to talk about their experiences. I promise it's not going to be a theme though. I'm not going to ask everyone as a guest to bring their entire family on afterwards. This is just a one-off. Don't worry. I'm not going to put you on the spot. So yeah, we've got lots of stuff coming up between now and, well, I think we're taking bookings now up until November off the top of my head. So yeah, we've got wonderful Lauren's going to be joining us later in the year. We've also got Petra, anyone who's familiar with Petra over on our Discord. She will be joining us. What else have we got? Cheryl Crow, anyone who's not the Cheryl Crow, that would be awesome. Could you imagine that? Cheryl Crow, as in the arthritis advocate. So any of you following people around them arthritis spaces on Instagram would have no doubt come across Cheryl and her wonderful energy. And the work that she does around arthritis awareness. She's going to be joining us later in the year. We also have our first organisation joining us, where we're going to be doing a special stream in September, where I'm going to be joined by Medivy that make natural skin creams, and also Eczema Clothing that make cotton-based clothing for people with psoriasis like myself, and people with eczema, etc. And talking about their founders who live with these conditions, about what inspired them to go on and create these organisations. And also later in the year, we're hoping to start having our first sort of run of patient organisations joining us as well. So if you're watching this or watching this back, or whatever format you absorb this on, consume was probably the word I meant, not absorb. I was thinking about skin. Then you can get in touch, because we'd love to have you on, talk about the project you're doing. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I'm not precious. That is the benefit we've got of being independent. We can have people on and talk about the good stuff they're doing and try and reach more people. So if you've got something going on, doesn't have to be the UK, it could be anywhere. Get in touch so we can share that and put you in touch with more people. And we're hoping that we can keep growing this, and we can eventually get to a point where we can keep polishing. I already feel like production value's come on a long way, but I've still got lots of ideas where we could do more. But I'd like to get to a point where we can sort of pay our guests, or at least send them out something as a thank you. And I'd like to market it at some point, because at the moment, do awesome people that turn up every week are just the guys that see it on my socials. But imagine if we could actually reach people who have never heard of us, and maybe help someone. That'd be awesome. So that's what we're aiming to do between now and the end of the year. So watch this space. And as always, you can check out all of the. I just went to press my Stream Deck then. That's after doing 10 hours yesterday. I forget I'm not on my Stream Deck for this. If you audio is more your thing, then you can also check us out via the podcast. Just type in Joel vs Arthritis wherever you listen, it'll come up. But it's quite our most listened places, Apple and Google. Go check out there, and you'll hear the interviews from these conversations, the interview only sort of audio clip, which you can listen on your dog walk, commute to work, whatever. So, have I said hello to everyone? I think I've said hello to everyone. If there's anyone else in chat wants to say hello, please do. Sorry if my voice goes tonight, guys. Sorry if I'm looking a little bit beetroot. I had a bit of a fever all day. But that's to be expected, really, after stressing myself yesterday. But it was great fun, guys, yesterday. Thanks for everyone who joined me. We did amazing things. I should probably put the link to the fundraiser here now, but I haven't got it prepared, so I won't. But thank you for everyone who donated. To get our target was £250 to get over 600. It's just mad. And to average 12 viewers over a 10-hour stream, unless you've tried streaming, you won't appreciate how difficult that is. You only need 1 hour when it goes really quiet and it bombs the whole thing back to zero. So to get an average of 12 viewers after the end of 10 hours of streaming, it's just absolutely mad. So thank you for everybody's support on that. Right, I can already feel myself getting quite nasally and hot and bothered again from whatever this mystery lurgy thing is. So should I stop talking and bring our guest in? Is everyone ready for our guest, guys? You're looking forward to learning about Crohn's disease and how you can live with it. I know I certainly am. Usual thing here, guys, if you've not been here before, we take the chat off screen when we do the interview, just out of respect to our guests, so that everybody's full attention is on them. You can carry on talking on whatever platform you're on. You will see that most of the people here are talking on YouTube. So if you want to carry on that conversation, head over to YouTube, get involved with the chat there. Please do keep that going. It also helps more people find us on YouTube. Everyone who presses the thumbs up button on YouTube and comments genuinely contributes to more people getting shown our video whilst we're live. It makes a big difference over on YouTube. And please keep your comments and questions coming, and I'll feature the best ones up on screen. We won't always be able to acknowledge them, but we'll certainly see them, and our viewers will see them when they watch the video back. And it also helps me sort of questions we ask and things like that. So without further ado, let me get us ready for our guest. Kill the music, because I always forget to kill the music every time. So, welcome back to another episode of the Chronic Pain Club Talk Show, guys, where we're here every Sunday night from 7 o'clock UK time to have important conversations about lived experience and what people live with their chronic long-term health conditions and pain, and all the good work they might be doing to raise awareness of that. And tonight is no different. You may recall earlier in the year that we were joined by Kevin Gibbons, who shared their experience of multiple sclerosis. And tonight I'm delighted to be joined by their brother, Matthew Gibbons, who will be talking to us about Crohn's disease. So Matthew, welcome in. I hope you're well.
Thanks so much. I'm doing great.
Superb, thank you. I think I'm going to just bring your mic up slightly because it's gone quiet again. I think that's probably the audio sort of trying to limit it. So yeah, you can hear me loud and clear, I take it, before I start.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Superb. So welcome in and to the show. Obviously, I'm guessing you know a little bit about us already from your brother's experience on the show, but do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about yourself?
For sure. So I work in IT here in Orlando, Florida. Actually graduated from college about a year ago, last summer. So I think we've actually just hit that anniversary day, which is kind of cool. I like to I'm pretty active when I can be, and I like to play video games. I know I was watching your stream yesterday, and I was invited to the server, so I guess I have to be doing that soon. But yeah, I just I'm a bit of a talker, so I know you said you're tired. I got your back here.
That's good. We already ticked 2 boxes. You've plugged one of our other peer support spaces, and you're willing to take up the reins on the talk. So yeah, you're already you get a win in my book. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So this is the first time on the Chronic Pain Club we've covered Crohn's, which seems crazy when we have so many in our community that have that as a sort of like secondary, primary, secondary. You know what I mean when I say that.
Mhm.
Lots of people in the arthritis space I know go on to have either things like UC or Crohn's or other things like that. So but for those of us that are not who've not lived with that, not experienced that, could you maybe give us a quick overview of what the disease is before we sort of dig into your story?
Absolutely. So Crohn's disease can actually affect anywhere along the GI tract. So that's where it kind of differs from ulcerative colitis, where ulcerative colitis targets exclusively the colon with ulcers. Um, Crohn's can do the same thing, but anywhere. So you can get ulcers in your stomach, your esophagus, in your small intestine, large intestine, just about anywhere. So
And I can only, well, I can't imagine how painful and all that, and the complications, which I'm sure we'll get into with that, which I know is a subject that probably isn't talked about enough. So I do appreciate you joining us with this and going through it. And I should say this more on the show, Trent, but if there's anything that comes up that you are uncomfortable with, because I always tend to ask like a mental health question and things like that, or
Mhm,
anything
mhm.
that's a bit sensitive, then obviously you can always ask us to move on, and we will absolutely respect that. Okay. Um, so where did your what sort of age, what did onset look like for you with Crohn's? What was that experience?
Well, so my first experience with it started after my freshman year of college, and so it didn't happen like during finals week. There was nothing going on crazy like that. But I got out of my first year and then came home for a week. So I went from eating at college to eating at home. So, eating real food again. And then I think the next week we ended up going to New Orleans for Kevin's graduation. So we were there for a little bit then. And so that was going from eating real food to eating a whole bunch of really tasty real food. Um, and and so the last thing we did there, I think we went to we had like a we went to a restaurant that was like an Italian place, and they kind of took a while to bring our food out. Kind of came back like warm, if not kind of cool. Like it was weird. It was a very weird experience. Following day, I was having some lower GI troubles, and I was like, hey, this is weird. But whatever, right? It could have been food. So I asked my mom about it, and she was having the same problem. Like, cool, great, whatever. So we went home, right? It was still going on for a few days. I was like, okay, I guess. And then um, over the next like week, I was like, hey, so this is still going on. How are you doing? And she's like, mine's better. Keep an eye on that. So, but that was when we kind of like got our first inkling that something was wrong. Um, and that was the start of a 6-week journey of trying to figure out what's wrong. Because at the time, I was active, right? Like I said, freshman year in college, I just got back home, so I'd been going to the gym. Like there was nothing. Like I was kind of in my own element at that point. And so at the time when it started, I was about like 155 pounds. At the end of it, I was down to like 125, 120. I lost a considerable amount of weight um, over that 6-week period. And I could actually break it down. Every 2 weeks, something changed. So the first 2 weeks, I was, it was annoying, but like it didn't really affect me that much. I didn't really notice any physical changes. And then the second 2 weeks, um, that's when I started noticing like the weight loss. I wasn't losing muscle. I was losing the limited fat that I had left, but it was like whatever. It's not that bad. And then that last 2 weeks, I was just tired. I couldn't go and be active like I liked because I had come back from that graduation and was going to my high school's track practices because my sprint coach let me. Um, so uh, I would go out and do late season sprint workouts without too much trouble, minus the risky bowel issues that could happen. So like nothing serious happened, but it did start getting challenging um when I was like first going through those first 2 weeks. But by those last 2 weeks, I had lost weight. I was noticeably thinner and lighter, and I didn't want to like go out and do stuff. I was much more, not necessarily bedridden, but certainly homebound. I was going to sit down. I was going to play video games. I didn't want to go and do anything because being active was hard.
And that must have been terrible for everything we're told about being, noticing when we rapidly lose weight and the things Dr. Google's going to tell you about that must have been like really terrifying experience for you doing such a short space of time.
It was very weird, especially I was like 19 years old. I was very young for my diagnosis from what my doctor told me. There were a few things that were a saving grace. It was very strange what things did it. One night we had spaghetti. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going for it because my mom makes the best spaghetti ever. So I ate like 2 pounds of spaghetti, and then for like 24 hours, nothing. No bowel trouble. I was like, what just happened? What was in that spaghetti that made this better for a day, one whole day? So that is, I've learned, is probably my cure-all for everything. If ever I find someone who's sick, I'd be like, I know how to make the spaghetti. I got you.
And I suppose though, did you I know obviously you said at the start it started with food and things, but was that something you instantly made sort of like a link to or correlation with, or were you completely in the dark at this point?
Well, I think with that one, it was probably some weird, like, what we figured happened was my body got shocked a little bit because I was going from Orlando, Florida to Washington State. So I had jet lag, and then I ate food at home on a weird food schedule because I was jet lagged. And then I went to New Orleans, which is another 2-hour jump back the other way. So I got jet lagged and then ate weird food again. Like I was really putting my body through the ringer for like a 2-week strain. And that probably is what got me. We don't know. I don't know. Maybe I got like a little food poisoning or something, or maybe the food was a little suspect at that Italian restaurant, because that was when it started. The night or the morning after that restaurant was when it began, and then just never stopped. And it wasn't like I had anything that, Crohn's says don't eat, right? The thing about Crohn's and colitis both are like, don't eat seeds, don't eat raw vegetables, roasted vegetables are bad, steamed vegetables are good because they're soft and squishy, like that kind of stuff. I didn't do any of that. I didn't break any of those rules because I didn't even know I had to follow them, but they weren't even an issue at the time.
And the thing is, Crohn's is not an immune disease, right? And we know that, like, with everything, there's more and more research coming out. There's people who they're finding their psoriasis got triggered by a random virus, or people got COVID and it then went on to, because ultimately it's your immune system overreacting, isn't it? So who knows? Maybe a food poisoning could trigger that.
Right. Kicked it off, right?
Yeah.
My body was excited to fight a disease, and I was like, I found one.
Yeah, and now I'm just not going to stop. But we laugh because we both got that experience, but
exactly,
at the time, it's not funny. But that's the only way I can explain it to people. It's just like our bodies pick a fight with themselves. They get bored, and that's what they do.
You got to find something to fight.
Yeah, and then people wonder why and can't link the whole fatigue thing. That's my big issue. Like, without going too off on a tangent, it's like, because fatigue in chronic illness is crippling, but it tends to be one of those conditions that people just palm off. But they don't understand the biological processes that are going on that are exhausting you. It's not that you just feel a bit tired; it's that everything's going on under the surface.
Your body's falling apart from the inside.
By just like fighting itself. But so you went through that period. You obviously lost all that weight, which must have been like rather worrying. And then how long did it sort of take from that experience to start to get some answers, or what did that next bit look like? I suppose.
So it was 6 weeks, because by the end of that 6 weeks was, I had started going to a GI doctor, and we'd gone through all the things, right? All the blood tests, all the, the best part ever, the stool samples, not the best part. Because they had to see if there are, parasites, whatever else, things like that, because it could be anything. They have to just knock out everything on the checklist to see what it could be. All the way down to, okay, last option, colonoscopy. Let's find out what's going on. And that's how I got my diagnosis. After that, what they did was, my doctor's like, okay, so we're going to do more blood tests, because we need to find out how immune you are to everything, ever. because we're going to put you on prednisone, a steroid, to stop the flare up. And then we're going to get you on an immunosuppressant and Humira. And those last two are together, the immunosuppressant, so my body doesn't form an immunity to the Humira, and the Humira to actually resolve the illness. So, and it was a quite the fight. For that last part, because we had to get some pre-approvals. I had to get the shingles vaccine at 19 years old, which had just been, the Shingrix vaccine thing had been just coming out here in the States, and people were talking about it, and it was a huge deal because, it was for people over 55, people who were at risk of getting shingles because they had chickenpox. I had to get triaged because they didn't have enough Shingrix vaccines to give to everyone. So I had to get one with a special note. And I only got one of the two because it was a series, and I didn't actually finish the series. So, but for its purpose, I'm sure it did fine. I haven't gotten shingles,
Yeah, that's good.
but it was a lot of getting revaccinated. Lots of boosters, and I think one of them was like Hep C. Like it was quite a lot of blood draws. Fortunately, most of them were after my first colonoscopy, so I was still blasted loopy from the anesthetic.
I've actually had a couple of those, and I called my mum after one, and she still to this day says the most bizarre phone call she's ever had. I was just talking rubbish.
I ended up going. So after the blood draws, me and my mom went to IHOP. I was like, no, I can order this food. And like you could tell, like they didn't have a waiter; they had the manager waiting on our table because I come in pajamas at like 11. Like it was clearly like something was going on, and it probably took me like 3 minutes or more to order my food. I ordered so much stuff, I like half remember eating any of it. It was great.
Yeah,
very good post colonoscopy food as IHOP.
Yeah, I remember being very hungry afterwards as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you talked about like the biologics. I'm on Humira as well, and that people don't see that side of it, do they? They don't see all the vaccination stuff, the pneumonia jabs, the test, and the annual flu jabs, and all this stuff, because and I had to confront a lot of this during the pandemic, where people couldn't see how a guy in his 30s was in the high risk group, and for those reasons. And I suppose with yours moves really quickly. Which on this we joke on this show, we get a lot of people who like have 7-8 year diagnosis journeys.
Right.
Yours obviously moves really quickly, so that must have also been a lot to take in, because you've got the condition and the diagnosis, and then obviously the severity of the treatment as well.
Yeah, so my girlfriend at the time, she actually had a pretty hard time with it because she had suggested, like, she was asking me to, like, what does she need to do to help? There really isn't anything anyone really could have done. Like, all we were doing, the people who could help were doctors, and they were doing everything they could, right? It was just about waiting to find out what we got. There really wasn't a whole lot to do, it was essentially stop being active, because that is not helping right now. So it did, it was a little bit surprising, like I said, but especially losing all that weight, because the problem I had is after that summer, I went back to school, of course. And I was in the marching band. So, and I wasn't just in the marching band playing I wasn't playing like a trumpet, something light and easy to hold on to. No, I have elected to be playing the tuba and the sousaphone. If you haven't seen a sousaphone,
I haven't seen a sousaphone. No.
You wear it around your body. It's a marching tuba, and it sits entirely on your left shoulder, almost exclusively. It's like 35 pounds. So all of the weight that I had lost over summer, I had then put into a large brass instrument and put on my shoulder. That wasn't what you're supposed to do, because by that point, after those last 2 weeks, my muscles had probably started getting weaker because I didn't have any more fat to burn. So I was losing weight that was muscular too. So I had a very, very...
Sorry to interrupt. Is that the reason I would tell you not to be active? Just from my ignorance, I didn't.
Well, that was honestly, because like for me, when I was getting that exhausted, it was too hard to do stuff. And like I said, it didn't make it better, because exercise and activity would, makes your, though it doesn't make you feel stressed, right? It releases the stress hormone, which makes your flare up worse.
Yeah.
Um, so, but like I had a very challenging band camp that year because all of the muscle mass that I had gained from the previous year marching was gone, minus some. It was even worse. So
And how was that like for you? You said like your partner at the time was like struggled. That must be really hard for you to get your head around as well, all of those changes and everything.
it was very weird. Like it was a hard thing to. It's strange to have someone pressure to help. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because and like I don't hold any, there's no like grudge about that. Like I get it. I understand what was trying to happen. But there was a push to say, how can I help? And I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
There was no answer to that question. And that was very challenging because I felt, unhelpful and also separately a little helpless. I couldn't do anything myself except for eat more spaghetti, I guess. But like, there wasn't really much that could happen.
Yeah, and it is hard. Like as somebody that flares and remisses as well, people underestimate that. Like I go periods of my life where I'm like massively independent and
Hmm.
sporty and athletic, and then that suddenly all comes crumbling down. And obviously those around you want to help, but when you're in that place, you're so frustrated and mentally like damaged. I can't think of a better
Right.
word. It's like sometimes people doing that can feel quite like smothering. So like I'll always tell people like just ask me what I need. Don't offer stuff. Don't assume. Don't try and do
Right.
things for me because you're just going to dent my pride more. So just like say like every day like what do you need me to do? And then I can say nothing or I can say actually could you just do X, Y, and Z? Do you know what I mean? But it's a
Right.
really
Right.
hard skill to master, isn't it?
Hmm.
And it is one we I'm trying to get we're going to have a caregivers show on this on the Chronic Pain Club as well because I think it'd be really important one to ask those folks about as well, like 'cause it must be really difficult on the other side of the table as well for when all these changes take place.
Absolutely.
So you got the treatment and everything, and how did you see a fairly quick you know return from that, or what challenges did you face with that?
So that's actually pretty interesting. The prednisone absolutely stopped the flare up, which is what it was supposed to do. Um, and so I was able to start like gaining some weight again. Like I said, I think by the time I got to band camp, I was like 125. So it's still, I wasn't back yet, but we were getting there. One of the things that I noticed that was very strange was I had a newly developed lactose intolerance for like a few months. Like,
Okay.
which was really weird, very weird, because that's gone now. I have no idea where it came from. Other than Crohn's was like, "Ooh." So it just
Yeah.
just wanted to make something weird. Um, so my
And that
mom
is,
and I,
I've never actually got any answer to that, but like, I find I have a lot worse allergies when I'm flaring. So like
yeah,
my animal allergy will be worse when I'm flaring. I have no idea what the science is behind that, or if it's even a thing. It's just something that happens to me. So maybe that's
I
something
would
similar.
right, I would figure that has to do because I would imagine all it is, right? It's just an immune response, right?
Yeah,
So lactose intolerance, animal allergy, all immune responses, and if you're having a flare up, your immune system's still just going. So like it must be that, right?
yeah. That's
But it was very, very strange. And so my mom and I went and started looking to try, dairy-free ice cream because let's find one. And I saw an ad for Haagen-Dazs, and because your phone listens to you and all that. I was like, great, perfect. So turns out, if ever you're looking for dairy-free ice cream, Haagen-Dazs is the best one.
okay. Well done,
Mhm.
bear that in
So
mind.
a little note for you there,
For
because
the
I
next
tried a
time my
lot.
immune system sideswipes me.
Yeah, right.
with
It says lactose intolerance.
I just can't believe like how well obviously in reality it might be slightly different, but it's so rapid. We're so used to like slow burn. Sometimes onset stuff will be rapid, but then the
Mhm.
diagnosis and the treatment, I don't know. I'm just really impressed that you got answers quite quickly. You had everything thrown at it, and but that also must have been so hard to process because everything's turbocharged.
Well, I think yes, because it was a lot. There was a lot of doctor visits, like I said, and lots of blood draws and things like that. Getting referrals to new doctors, right? That's how I got to the GI doc, right? All that kind of stuff. Um, I have a feeling though, it was because they were like every time you go to the doctor, they weigh you. I was going to the
Okay.
doctor a lot. They were keeping track of my weight too, and they were noticing problems because most of the time in a like if you're having that issue, right? I think the way the primary care doc called it was like acute diarrheal something or other, which, that's essentially not necessarily dysentery, but pretty much.
Yeah.
That was the problem. I was losing weight and water too fast. So I think the reason it had to go fast is because it was a very risky situation to be in. That's it could kill people if it doesn't get diagnosed technically. Because if it never stops, it never stops. You just keep losing weight. Um, but that I would imagine is part of the reason it had to go so fast.
Yeah.
Because when you have something like that, it's critical.
Yeah, and the thing is, I suppose that's why I'm looking at it with like arthritis glasses on, because
Mhm.
like ours tends to be a very slow burn kind of world. But then every now and then in that immune sort of field, same with like lupus and things like that. Obviously, things get a lot more serious, don't they? So yeah, I probably
Yeah.
hadn't appreciated how quickly you were like, if you're not getting what you need, then obviously
Yeah.
that
You're
becomes
in some
dangerous
trouble.
quite quickly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those in terms of like the biologics and stuff, was that a sort of fairly quick? Did that help, or was there sort of some confusion early on because they threw you on all this stuff that what was steroid, what was Humira, etc.
Um, it was it was a bit challenging at first. Like the prednisone and the immunosuppressant weren't the bad parts. And in fact, I think I stopped the immunosuppressant pretty quick. Or maybe the second one, something like that, because I started getting an itchy throat, and my doctor was like, "Stop taking it."
Yeah.
So I was like, "All right, cool, no problem." Um, but with Humira, as you probably recall, the loading doses. The first one is those, 4 injections, and then the second one is 2. And I started that, before they had the, was it the citrate free pens?
Yeah, that was horrible. I was like getting stung by a wasp
Those
every
were
single week. It was
those
horrible.
like, I got to the point in college when I was like, I had gotten to the point where I was dreading my injection because it hurt so much.
Yeah.
Even if I let it sit out and warm all the way up to room temperature and all of that, it didn't matter. It just burned. And so
Yeah,
when they had
it
the
was horrible. Like
yeah.
as someone that I'd self-injected me for Trexates like since I was young, and so I
Mhm.
was used to drawing up needles and I have a pen that does it all for me, and yet I started developing a fear because you knew that sting was just
Right. It's
inevitable.
just gonna hurt again,
Yeah,
like, every time.
yeah, but yeah, citrate. Somebody said in chat, citrate thing is free is a thing. It certainly is. They got rid of it in Humira about 2 years ago, but all the biosimilars, unfortunately, folks, for anyone watching this at the moment, is a lot of those still contain it. So unfortunately, that's why some of you may be still experiencing that sting.
I
Sorry,
know.
Matthew, I digress, but it's not
No,
fun.
it's fine. I was looking at those chats too. I'm like, "Oh, man, is that a rare thing? Oh, no."
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, but
yeah,
they
that was
did. I had a horrible bit of luck where just as Humira got rid of it, I got switched to a biosimilar temporarily that still had it. I was like, really?
of course you did.
And I can't tell you after having a month or two break from it how hard it was to go back to that sting. But yeah, so I don't know about you, and obviously you've got a different condition, but for me, biologics just blew my mind. Within
Mhm.
2 weeks, I started seeing like proper
Right,
improvements.
immediate
Not
yeah,
yeah, and did you?
that,
How did you process that? Because I started thinking I was imagining it, or it was a fake, or yeah, I thought placebo. I didn't know what it was. It just blew my mind.
mhm. I actually did a little bit of looking into it because it was so interesting to me that they had a medication that just makes your immune system stop being so ridiculous. I was like, "Oh, so my immune system has gone from above average to average now. So now I won't fight myself, I'll fight regular things probably." And I've had a few, issues here and there, right? I've gotten ill and um I've gotten ill, and when I get sick, I like commit to it. Like I like I
You're
get
going
sick.
all in.
It was bad. There the
That is the
last
nature of the
time,
disease, though, isn't it?
yeah, right.
Surely. Yeah.
It was so weird. There was one time, like it was like 2 years ago now, and it's like the last time I've actually been like sick. So, like I said, I committed to it, and we're good for a couple of years, I guess. I got like a stomach bug and strep throat at the same time.
Oh, nice.
Oh, dude, I was falling apart. It was terrible. Um, and that was actually the last time, Jarrett, who's in chat, that was the last time he was my roommate. So in the time that we were roommates to the time we're now roommates again, I haven't been sick since then, which is
Oh,
very
that's
strange.
awesome. Awesome.
Um,
Especially like,
but
do you, so I'm guessing you don't get like infections from the biologics or anything like that.
nothing really, no.
Awesome.
I didn't have any issues really with my starting Humira. Other than, like I said, the pain from the injection and hating that. Um, I didn't really get it. I didn't get sick from starting it. I did actually send some emails to I did send some emails to my directors because it's like, hey, here's what's going on. I will be extra immunosuppressed now. So I got to be extra careful during band camp this year. They said, all right, cool. Just checking. I just had to let them know. But I didn't really have anything start up because of my injections. And I think that was partially because of my physician at the time. He did a very good job of keeping track of all of my titers and making sure everything was well immune, because that is how people get sick after they start Humira. A lot of times, the Hep C one was a big one because that'll just show up out of nowhere and people get hepatitis C and then get very sick. So we knocked that out before I started anything.
People seem to get quite offended if my inbox has anything to go by about why all those tests are done. Like, what they accuse me of. So no, I don't think you realise how the drug works. Go and Google it some more.
Right.
Because
There's a reason they need to know.
It's going to dig out, because it's like pneumonia. Many of us get exposed to pneumonia, but you have to actually sort of be vulnerable and in a place where it can become a problem. And yeah, and unfortunately, I think, I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the UK, we're really bad at that. We'll say to somebody, right, you've got this, take this drug, and they don't explain what it's for or why you have to have the blood test or how important they are, and and then they wonder why people don't adhere to it or they don't toe the line because they're not informed and educated on the risks.
Right. I know. I occasionally frequent X, formerly known as Twitter. Because
I refuse to call it X.
that is not the best thing ever. Because every now and again you'll see those tweets about people saying, "Hey, be your own advocate in your healthcare," which is a very good point. If someone doesn't tell you why you need to take it, ask, because they'll tell you, and if they don't, keep asking. Just keep bothering them. They aren't going to leave the room. They are truly a captive audience until they make sure that like what to do and that you're going to be taking your medication. So that's my argument is absolutely say why, because I ask questions at doctors' offices all the time, and I can tell sometimes it bothers them, but I ask questions because I'm curious and I want answers.
Yeah, and I'll say to people as well, like, you don't, like, because I think people hear the word like advocate or advocate for themselves and think they have to like be doing some grand gestury thing. So no, literally, it's just asking questions,
Right,
feeling
just ask the
empowered.
question.
Yeah, feeling empowered to be involved in your own care. Because if you don't know, so one of the big issues we get in the autoimmune world is like people want to rush to biologics and they get frustrated because they see on social media everyone doing their biologics injections and they don't understand why they're stuck on an oral systemic further down the road. But if they haven't asked the questions to understand what they're trying to achieve and what hoops they have to go through, and especially here in the NHS, what financial gates you have to go through, do you know what I mean? It's like, but if you don't ask those questions and you just are a passenger, then it's going to be a very frustrating experience, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and like, we fought with insurance when I had to get on Humira, and every time we have ever changed insurances, we have to fight about, why do I have to wait 2 months to get, my next specialty pharmacy, and why do I have to wait for this to get pre-approved? Right. I needed it before. I still need it. Like, it's still a problem. It didn't go away because, as we all know, Crohn's is not a thing that gets cured. That's not how that works. So
No.
it's
whatever
a very
nonsense
weird
you
fight.
read on Instagram.
Yeah, right. It's such a weird fight, those prior authorizations, because it shouldn't be that hard. If I was taking it before, I probably still need it now. Like, it's not going anywhere.
every time we have someone come on the States and talk about that side of the insurance thing, I just think I wouldn't have the energy to last 5 minutes in that environment. I'd need
It's
somebody else advocating for me on that one, I think.
yeah, it's special. All right. That's a special time. I haven't had to do it myself yet. Let's see, was it 26 is when I have to get my own insurance. I'll be
Okay.
waiting until I'm 26,
Yeah.
which is we're actually just about a year away. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, no. So we'll move on from that
Yeah,
sort of
right. Oh
subject.
no.
So things obviously started to improve. Did you then? I suppose did you have to? You must have had to make like life changes and things and adapt to live with the condition, or did the medication work and you just carried on till the next flare? How did that sort of look for you?
Actually, the medications worked very, very well. So I haven't had a flare up since my first one because of
Oh,
Humira.
amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty stellar. So I've been able to, though, you know, though you're not supposed to eat seeds and crunchy vegetables and all those things, I still do, and I still can. I don't eat corn, but that's because I don't. That one does get me for some reason, and I was like, does that get everyone? And some people say yes, and some people say no. So that means no, it doesn't get everyone, and that's why I don't eat it because I think that one will get things upset for sure.
Yeah.
But so I haven't really had to do any major changes. Like I said, there is that small bout of the lactose intolerance that went away. Um, that was the only time I really changed a diet a little bit. Um, but most of the time, it's pretty steady. I can kind of coast, and I don't have to worry about it too much, which is very
That's
fortunate.
yeah, that's awesome, and that's also nice to hear that on a Sunday night because
Yeah.
we really don't. It tends to be a bit of us like somebody trying to climb a mountain range of ups and downs and things like that. So yeah, it's nice to hear that that's stabilized and yeah, and you're just going on. So I suppose now feels like we should probably sort of double down on that for to give people some
hmm
hope that are listening and everything, and hopefully do find the right combination. So I suppose so. Are you still doing sort of like the athletic stuff? Are you still sort of active and them sort of
So
things?
that is actually one of the biggest challenges that I've been facing because I have an office job. So much fun. Because that's what IT work is. I'm on site IT, so I have to be at an office for 8 hours a day. And recently, I saw that there was a standing desk on the HR side of the office, and I asked if I could use it, and they said yes. So I've been standing at work, and that alone has made me lose like 3 or 4 pounds.
Really?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sitting down all day is not good for you. Wouldn't you
No,
have
tell
it?
me yeah, tell me I know that after the last
So
3 or 4 years.
yeah, right. So I got a standing desk from HR because I was like, well, they're not going to use it. And that's been pretty nice. But in the next coming weeks, I'm actually going to be getting back to the gym because I have some goals in mind myself. Because after college, right, you start working, you start gaining weight because all of a sudden you're 8 hours a day at work, not being able to go to the gym, at 12:30 in the middle of the day for no reason, which was awesome. Thanks, college. But now I don't know what I'm going to do that. So,
Yeah.
um, especially because, then in my, in my prime college days, which was, 2 years ago, um, I would go to the
Makes me
gym.
feel so old. Makes
I
me
know,
feel
right?
so old.
I would, so actually, what's really cool, I know, what's really neat is my gym, my college gym had a climbing tower, like a rock climbing tower
Okay,
indoors,
yeah.
which was awesome. And so I would go to the gym for like 3 hours. I would go work out for an hour, hour and a half, and I would go over to the climbing tower and climb. Um, and everyone at the climbing tower thought I was insane because they would see me doing my workouts and then see me come to the tower and climb anyway. Um, but
Okay.
that's that was the last time I was like super active. Like I said, I want to get back into it because I can and I should.
And do you think sort of like being younger and fit and healthy, do you think that contributed to your sort of recovery? Because that is a fairly impressive like result, isn't it? You know, that you get a drug combination, it works. We all know that Humira is proven with those sort of
hmm
conditions. Um, but do you think that that played a part in not just getting you back to being well, but staying well?
I think so, and I think also because I was fortunate that my Crohn's is actually relatively minor, because it can be minor, moderate to severe. It could be debilitating to some people. I got lucky that like I said, my Crohn's is very minor. I have a ulcer, not 20,
Yeah.
or not a destroyed whatever. I don't have anything going super crazy, which is probably one of the biggest parts of my success. I just had a fortunate situation. And I do think being young, because of course being young always helps, with recovery with anything. Um, and at the time I was as active as I could be. So yes, I would say if you can focus on, just, being health conscious, even if you don't have an autoimmune disease or, a chronic illness, like that protects you from, if you find out that you do, you'll be okay for maybe a little longer, because your body's already, in good shape, in good health, and it keeps you checked in.
I think for me, the one thing that's really jumping at me from your story is just how important that quick diagnosis, early treatment thing is. Because, I've got a couple of friends with Crohn's, and
Mhm.
it's not that outcome. Things have been taken out, things have been replaced, and, without
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
into too much detail, and that significantly changed their everyday life. But obviously yours was caught really quickly, and it shows you how important getting access to things like biologics is, because it just basically put a lid on it. And I had the same in a different condition. I
Mhm.
can't change the historic damage that happened, but it kind of airlocked it, and
Yeah,
it's
right. It
there
prevents
suspended.
further damage. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not to say those things don't will last forever, because we know they don't. And people have to change biologics and things like that. um but yeah, so I suppose for anyone that's I feel like we've already answered this in terms of like what, like, that importance of, if something changes, getting help. I don't know if anything you
Mhm.
want to sort of say about that, because clearly it had a benefit, didn't it?
Right. So I would say, because like in my case, like I said, there was like a week of, lowered GI troubles. I was like, this is weird. And it just so happened to be after a food thing, right? So that probably delayed me maybe just a week, right? Because most of the time, food poisoning is like a couple days. So, side note, food poisoning is only just a couple days. If you have food poisoning for a week, it's probably not food poisoning.
Yeah,
So,
that feels like a really good point to hammer.
so that might help. But also, being mindful of, like, you know, how you're feeling now compared to how how you normally feel. Find your baseline, keep that in mind, and then compare to that. Um, because that's how you can tell. It's like, oh, something's wrong. Oh, my, let's say stomach feels weird or whatever. That's how we find out we're sick, right? You take your temperature because, man, I feel warm today. Um, which is because you're feeling out of the norm, right? Then that's really just being mindful of where's normal. Can you make normal better so that when you're bad, you feel more bad, or at least less normal, so you can catch it sooner? That kind of stuff. It really just comes down to being mindful.
Yeah, I think that is probably one of the most important bits we've covered tonight. That and the whole ask questions, and
Mhm.
and
Oh,
advocating
yeah.
for
Ask
yourself.
those doctors. Really make them tell you what's up.
Yeah. And also, like we said earlier, understanding what's happening and why, because I think we get so, and I do it, I'm the biggest hypocrite when I'm telling people to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll go to a doctor and be a bit of a nod and dog. I'll just be
Mhm.
like, yeah, 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 and then I'll walk away, leave the room, and just like, what does that mean? Or
Right.
what
Wait,
happens
what
if
just
this doesn't
happened?
work? Yeah, what's the
Right.
plan B? I never ask what plan B is. That's something I've got to personally try and work on. I'll just
Mhm.
accept it and then not actually say, well, yeah, but what if?
Right.
So I think they're
What
really,
happens if this doesn't work?
yeah,
I also
yeah.
know that if you ever have any drug questions, you can always ask a pharmacist too. You can even ask the
Yes.
doctor if you can ask a pharmacist, because they'll probably have someone they can call. They're a doctor's office.
Yeah, we have a resident pharmacist, Dr. Ashley Perkins, has joined us twice. It's probably due to get her back again, and she would be the first. She'd be celebrating that point right there. She'd be whooping and everything, because yeah, she's always trying to make the point that, like, we are medical professionals too. We can be
Mhm.
that first point of contact, and it was
Absolutely.
something I probably didn't appreciate until I become a dad. You suddenly have a baby or a toddler.
Mhm.
Pharmacies are invaluable, to go in at 11 o'clock at night or whatever and ask about some random rash that's appeared.
Right. Right.
but we don't sort of see it for ourselves as adults. So I think it's a really good point.
Well, and I also like to think that, like, doctors are great at prescribing medication, but it's not their job to know everything about every medication. That
Yeah,
is more on the pharmacist. Pharmacists are supposed to know more about how drugs interact with other drugs, if you have to worry about that, or what side effects it might cause. Doctors know how to identify issues, but might not be the first best choice on what does this medicine do. Um, on
that
this,
is an excellent point, and
yeah.
it can be proven when I go in with an infection to my GP or primary healthcare doctor, as you
Hmm.
guys would
Hmm.
probably call it, and have to remind them that biologics masks a fever, because the first thing they'll do, I'll say, I've got an infection. The thermometer goes near, and I say, you won't see a temperature. You
Right.
just won't.
You'll never notice.
Yeah, it won't get to that height. If it does, I'd already be in hospital. So, or the best one, they get out a giant book, don't they, to look up the
Hmm.
to look up the medicine you're on. So that's a good point. um, Brilliant. So I feel like we've covered loads there. I feel like it's just nice to do like a good, and that's not a good news story. Your experience, obviously, at the time wasn't fun and everything else, but a well
Yeah.
managed. You know what I mean?
Right,
A well
right.
managed. I think
A
it
good
gives
case.
hopefully,
Right.
yeah, it gives people hope, and we know we don't take this stuff for granted. I unfortunately in my 20s did take a period of remission for granted, and then you sort of fall further. So like we know that stuff isn't always going to stay the status quo, but
Mhm.
it's really nice that you're joining us now in a really good place. So we've kind of covered, about getting help quickly and everything else. Is there anyone, if anyone's newly diagnosed with Crohn's today, particularly a younger person, I know what it's like when people take to social media and things like that, and they might see worst case scenario, and people have
Mhm.
maybe lived with it for a lot of years. What would your sort of like words of advice be to somebody newly diagnosed?
I would probably say something, I have to tell them that, it's gonna get better because it does. Um, Whatever medication you're gonna take, whatever's gonna stop that, initial flare up, that is a magical experience because all of a sudden it's better. And then it's being mindful of, what changes you have to make, at least for now, and depending on severity, forever. In my case, my mom has been very good at keeping things that are good for Crohn's and colitis, on our dinner table. Whenever we be home, she has to be mindful of that stuff, and she does a great job of it. Um, but someone newly diagnosed, I'd certainly say, don't worry, it'll be fine. Listen to the doctors, ask your questions, because you're going to have some, and they're there to help you, because this is a diagnosis, and it's a serious one. This is lifelong, not temporary. So when you have questions, you need to ask them. That way, you'll be informed of your own disease too, because not everyone is, and in fact, most people aren't. Because I know you mentioned, Joel. I know you mentioned the COVID situation. A lot of people came out of the woodworks being very upset at people with autoimmune diseases for no reason. Um,
Yeah,
Apparently, you just get surprise targeted for whenever
yeah,
there's a pandemic, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
Nobody
so
saw us when we're just getting on with our lives, trying to sort of
exactly,
battle
because we
these
can kind of
things.
chill.
But
But
yeah,
the instant someone who's 20 is part of the at-risk community, they're like, no, you're not. That's a lie. Nothing looks nothing looks wrong. That's a very big line that you'll hear whenever something is, especially with an autoimmune disease. Don't let it get to you, because you're right. Nothing looks wrong, but there is, and it's okay to manage and control your symptoms, your health, and that kind of stuff. It's important.
beautifully articulated. So thank you so much. I feel like I need to clip that last little bit for anyone to see that on YouTube as well in the future. So I will grab that at some point. And I'm going to share this on screen. I didn't want to do it while you were saying that because you were saying it so well. But from your brother there, of pay attention, seek up as soon as something changes, ask lots of questions, and Aunt April spaghetti. Yeah, I'm
Oh
pretty
yeah.
sure we're all like waiting now for Aunt April spaghetti to hit the shelves or for mail
Oh,
order or
dude.
something.
Best recipe I'll ever see. I was actually trying to figure out. I was like, who on earth used my same name when I went in chat, and I was like, "Oh wait, I have an uncle." Oh yeah,
Oh,
those
sorry. Yeah, that
two-
is your. Sorry, I'm so used to seeing
I
Kevin.
know
I saw Gibbons and instantly said your brother. Apologies. There's just
it's
too
okay.
many
No,
Gibbons
it's
in this
okay.
chat right now.
And what's particularly strange is there are all of a sudden 2 Matthew Gibbonses.
Mm. I
That'll
didn't even.
really throw you
Yeah,
off.
yeah. I was on stream yesterday, and I said all day I kept mentioning like there is no way I'm getting through this interview without calling you Kevin. I'm pretty sure I've managed to do that, so
You
I'll
haven't
take
done it
that.
once.
Yeah. So any mistakes in chat, I can live with that. So yeah, apologies, Matthew 2.0.
Not a problem. It was great.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let you go. I appreciate it's probably like middle of the day there, Sunday, where you are, is it?
Yeah, so we're at what 3 o'clock now.
Yeah, cool.
This was a perfect podcast weather because we had like some light rain because Florida in summertime, so it was nice and rainy, a little overcast. Looks great. Great
Brilliant.
podcast day.
Yeah, we've here in the UK, it should be summer. The rest of the world seems to be going for a heat wave, and we've had a month of rain, just non-stop rain every single day. I haven't had to water my plants in weeks. So yeah, I'm very jealous. Right, I will let you go and enjoy the sunshine. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for articulating all of that so beautifully. I know it's going to help a lot of people when I edit this up for people to sort of consume wherever it is that they consume their content. And yeah, and all the best for everything, and I long may your sort of good health continue.
Of course. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Matthew. Good night.
Night.
Guys, I did so well until like you're right, Kevin. I got blindsided by more Gibbons. They're like multiplying in chat. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Sunday night. If this is your first time here, and sorry if I got you all confused. I managed to at least do the interview correctly because I was worried that I would edit the podcast months down the line and hear me interchanging Kevin and Matthew. But I didn't do that, which is great. But yeah, thank you for joining us. The other Matthew, and all the other Gibbons that are with us in chat. And like I say, for the trilogy, for the Gibbons trilogy, we will have Lauren joining us later on in the year to talk about her experiences. And then maybe I can move on from Gibbons and stop getting confused all the while. Thanks for the show. You're absolutely welcome, Suzuki. I must admit, it's been a bit of a slog today. Obviously, I done a 10-hour stream yesterday with 8 breaks, which also ended up in you lot bullying me. And I had a lurgy. I'm on a lot of paracetamol at the minute to try and keep that under control. I've been in bed. I went to bed. I was asleep between like 12 and 2 p.m. Then again between 4 and 6. I literally woke up at 6, had a bath, jumped on the call, and we were good to go. So yeah, sorry for the if anything weren't as slick as it is tonight, guys. Apologies to Matthew if that came across as well. I wasn't 100%, but hopefully that was really interesting. And there were so many bits there right in my back of my mind. I think I've got to clip that. I've got a bit of a backlog, by the way, guys. So at the minute, I think on YouTube we've just clipped the Amanda interview where we're talking about lupus. And when I say clip, I mean I've just taken the start and finish off all this waffle, me to camera. The podcast we just put out, Katie Pierres's podcast. So the podcast is probably about 2 months behind. The YouTube video is about a month behind. But I will catch up at some point. I just need to set aside like a weekend. But bearing in mind, people like Nia Cheeks that already have to pick up a lot of slack, like yesterday all day. Dog Dylan, same again today because I've been ill. She's been doing the birthday party thing, which I managed to avoid, thankfully, because if not, I don't think I would have been here tonight. I'd have felt far too under the weather. So yeah, trying to find a weekend to get caught up on all the edit and isn't an easy thing. I did actually put out, guys, for anyone that knows anyone on Facebook, if anyone like college or anyone needs stuff for their portfolio, is looking to get like a little bit of experience and would like to edit some of these YouTube videos, I can't really offer anything other than maybe some free Pain Company t-shirts. But if anyone knows anyone that might be interested in getting into a little bit of editing, because I feel like where we're missing a trick at the Chronic Pain Club at the minute, the interviews are great, and I think the work we've put into making this a more professional production has definitely paid off because we see it in our subscriber numbers and everything else. But we are asking people to give us 30 to 45 minutes of their attention, which obviously in 2023 is really difficult. And we see it in the podcast where people will skip around them and listen to bits and pieces. And I think we're probably missing a trick by not clipping those. You know, that stuff that Matthew was saying at the end there felt really important. and we could put that into like a little 2-minute YouTube video, but it's just time. So bear with me, guys. I'm trying to find a solution to that. But if anyone does know anyone that would like to get on board, because I think I've probably got to the point now where I can't do all of this on my own and also rely on Nia to keep picking up. So Nia has offered numerous times, I should point out, to help with the editing. But bearing in mind, they moderate YouTube, Twitch, Discord, the Minecraft server. I'm already asking a lot. Chronic Pain Club, and you would not believe how much hard work monitoring that Chronic Pain Club Facebook group is as well, with the amount of people in there trying to sell us herbs from Africa. You know, the sort of posts about how stuff cured their herpes like every single hour of the day. So Nia Cheeks already does far too much. But if anyone knows anyone, please do get in touch. So yeah, thanks. And Nia, you didn't have to join us. You've already done more than enough this weekend, I should probably say. And the same for all you guys that I've seen here in chat that were joining me last night. Yesterday as well. Thank you so much. It really wasn't expected. I wasn't expecting any of you guys to resurface after listening to my dulcet tones for so long. But yeah, quick note on that, guys. We've done unbelievably well. And just to put it into perspective, the last time we done a charity stream was World Psoriasis Day in 2022. We got a lot more views. We got twice as many chat messages, over 1,000 more chat messages. The numbers were basically double. But what you need to do to put into perspective is when we done World Psoriasis Day in October, that was the culmination of a year-long project with IFPA working on Animal Crossing. So what happened is we were building that project up to World Psoriasis Day. Everybody knew that. All of the stakeholders knew that. There was a professional marketing team involved that done all social media stuff. There was a marketing budget. So there was Facebook ads that went out. And obviously there was a big staff base involved in that project that checked in and out throughout the day. Not to mention that we interviewed 4 people from around the world that brought their own viewers. You know, we had 10 people at one point watching us from Kenya because of Wangui and things like that. Yeah, whose interview was brilliant, by the way. Go back and watch that on the YouTube channel. So to do what we did yesterday with no marketing, no support, just literally me putting out on my social media and without being unkind. And if you're watching on Facebook, I don't mean anything by this, but nobody really understands what Twitch is on Facebook. My Facebook audience is like completely over their head. I do a post about Twitch on Facebook. It gets like 1 like maybe, and that's probably Nia Cheeks. So bearing in mind that 1,000 odd people just forget that. They don't really get what the Twitch thing is about. You know, to do what we're doing is all because of you regulars, because people come in to things like tonight and things like yesterday, and they feel safe and they feel like they can share their experiences and they can ask questions without sort of being made to feel bad or belittled, and they can get involved. And every single one of you have contributed to that. From Lauren, I think you've been with us sort of like 6 months, who's like absolutely integral now, to somebody like the long suffering Snuffle, who has been here from day one when I used to stream Theme Hospital, to the one and only Snuffle. Nobody else was in the audience. And I used to fail miserably and kill all the patients in the game. And we used to have to wipe and start again. And I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't play the game and talk at the same time. So there was long periods of me not saying anything. Then when I did talk, everybody died in the game. And to get where we are now, and for you guys to stick around through that process as I iron out all of those numerous kinks. And I'd be the first to say that I was never natural at this stuff, you know. Yes, I used to play in a band, so I was used to being on stage and in front of people, but I'm not, I don't do cameras. You know, I know a bit about microphones and audio, but I knew nothing about cameras and lighting or how to talk to a camera. I'm conscious that I've got a regional Norfolk accent, and sometimes I talk too quickly, and Americans think I'm Australian, apparently, which I find at every single conference at the minute. And, you know, all of these stuff I was very conscious of. And, for you guys to stick with me through all of that and for us to then have that experience yesterday felt really special. And I think on that note, I'm probably going to leave it there. Thank you for everything tonight, guys. Really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your weekends. And I promise I'll try and give you a little bit of a break. I can't imagine I'll be on Twitch tomorrow night, but if you demand it in Discord, then I'll be there, because I must admit I got back into Minecraft again after yesterday. Nothing wrong with a Norfolk accent. I love that. I love that. It's fine until I start saying very regionalized terms that nobody can understand. But thank you guys for all your support. You guys are absolutely incredible. We've built something really special here, like genuinely special. And that's why I got out of bed just an hour and a half ago to do this, because you guys make it all worthwhile. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope your Monday's not too bad for you, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.